There's something heavy hanging over your life. Bills that never get paid, debts that seem to grow on their own, people who have changed their outlook and their words, bringing envy and an invisible weight. You feel that, no matter how hard you fight, something always blocks your prosperity. And deep down, you know, this isn't just emotional, nor just financial. Today, you will discover an ancient secret, a psalm that isn't just poetry, but a sword. It isn't just prayer, it's liberation. As you listen, chains will fall, debts will be broken, and envy will be unmasked. This is a divine calling. You were guided here because there's an invisible battle raging right now, but those who pray with faith never fight alone. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to feel the atmosphere shift in this moment, because it's not just numbers on paper or voices speaking against you. It's invisible forces that want to imprison your mind in the frequency of scarcity. Debts aren't just accumulated values. They are vibrational currents that drain energy, hope, and faith. They make you wake up feeling heavy and sleep with worry, creating a cycle where your creative energy is stolen before you can even act. But the spiritual realm doesn't ignore your struggle, and today something begins to move within and around you. Because there is no debt, envy, or negative energy that can resist the power of the word when it is proclaimed with faith. Psalm 35 is the sword that cuts invisible chains, the key that opens closed doors, and the shield that protects you from the arrows launched against your prosperity. Perhaps you've tried to pay every bill with human effort, but realized that a new one always appears. Perhaps you've felt envious glances when your life was beginning to prosper, and suddenly something fell apart without explanation. Perhaps you've heard hurtful words, negative statements that echo within you. To this day, this isn't just coincidence, it's the manifestation of a distorted vibrational field that needs to be realigned, and that's why you're here. Because there's a spiritual summons happening right now. You didn't come to this video by chance. You have been called to this moment because the liberation that begins here goes beyond your pocket. It reaches your home, your soul, your family, your descendants. A cycle is being broken as you hear these words. The battle is not against flesh and blood. The Bible reminds us, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:12. What does this mean to you? It means that unexpected debt that arose, that inexplicable financial loss, that friendship that turned into betrayal and brought curses, none of these were born solely in the material world. They are reflections of a spiritual battle that must be faced with spiritual weapons. And that is exactly what we will do here. Let us rise, not in despair, not in fear, but with vibrational authority. Because when you shift your frequency, the surrounding field must respond. When you declare with faith, it's not just your voice that speaks. The universe itself, aligned with God's word, begins to reposition everything in your favor. You were made to prosper, not to live under the yoke of debt. You were created to manifest abundance, not to survive in scarcity. Debt is an invisible prison that tries to hold you to ancient frequencies. But today, in the power of Psalm 35, that prison begins to unravel. Each word proclaimed here is not just sound, it's a vibration that traverses dimensions, a frequency that penetrates environments, a field of light that disarms all darkness. As you listen, something is already happening. Perhaps you feel a physical relief, as if a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. Perhaps you notice a calm entering your heart. Perhaps even tears come unexplained. Don't resist. These are signs that chains are falling. Spiritual debts are being annulled. Curses are being broken. And I want you to understand something profound. The debt that appears on paper is merely a reflection of the vibrational debt that the field has recorded. Words of scarcity, beliefs of lack, memories of failure. But today, this energetic memory will be replaced by a new frequency. You are entering a field of abundance where the invisible responds before the visible. Now imagine your debts as rusty chains. They bind your feet and hands, limiting your steps. But as the word of God is released, you begin to hear the sound of metal breaking, of the chain unraveling. One by one, they fall to the ground. You begin to walk lighter. The weight is no longer the same. And it's not just about paying bills. It's about recovering your energy, your dignity, your faith. Because when the field is cleared, money starts flowing again. Opportunities that were blocked open again. Financial doors that seemed sealed begin to give way, not by human effort, but because the vibrational field responds to the decree of those who believe. The envy they cast against you will be unmasked. The spells and words of defeat will fall away. And every spiritual and financial debt begins to dissolve before the presence of God. Today is just the first step, because this path of liberation is neither superstition nor magic. It is a journey of active faith, of vibrational alignment, of conscious decision. Therefore, in the next few minutes, you will be led to something greater, a 21-day process that not only breaks the chains, but creates a shield so that they never return. But before that, look within yourself and silently declare, I am not the debt I've carried. I am the abundance God has already released for me. Feel this phrase vibrate within your body. Repeat it again. The more you declare it, the more the field begins to reorganize. Because true change doesn't begin in your wallet, it begins in your frequency. Today, something was activated within you. You won't leave this video the same way you entered, because liberation has already begun. Debts aren't just cold numbers written on paper or on bank screens. They often become invisible chains that bind the soul, draining energy, draining hope, and weakening faith. Have you ever noticed how a simple overdue bill can steal your peace entirely? Have you noticed how financial burdens can transform into spiritual burdens, even affecting your sleep? This happens because debts don't just live in the physical world. They create a vibrational field, an atmosphere of scarcity that contaminates thoughts, words, and feelings. And the more you connect with this frequency of lack, the more it seems to multiply. Perhaps you've seen this cycle repeat itself in your family. Parents who struggled their entire lives with debt, grandparents who lived in poverty, stories of bankruptcy or financial losses that span generations. This isn't just a legacy of unpaid bills, it's also a spiritual inheritance, an invisible vibrational pattern that tries to stay alive from generation to generation. And then you ask yourself, why, even though we work so hard, nothing seems to prosper? Why, when an opportunity finally arises, something unexpected happens and everything is lost? These aren't just coincidences. Often they are signs of spiritual currents working silently, but what is hidden can be overcome. And Psalm 35 is a key to this. It's not just an ancient text, but a living sword, a spiritual decree capable of cutting invisible bonds and restoring the flow of prosperity. Its every word is like a frequency that reorganizes the field, expelling what no longer belongs in your life. Sometimes attacks don't come from outside, but from within. It's that subtle voice that repeats, "You can't do it. It'll never work. Your life will always be like this." Have you ever heard this voice? It's not neutral. It's like a seed planted in the vibrational field, trying to bear fruit of scarcity. But none of these words are greater than God's promise. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Look at your home too. How often does the atmosphere feel heavy? How many arguments arise out of nowhere, as if the air were thick? How often do you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep? This could be a sign of vibrational oppression in the environment. And if the house is heavy, prosperity finds no room to remain. Therefore, liberation needs to be complete. It's not just about paying off debts. It's about consecrating every room, every corner, every door, so that your home becomes a haven of peace. Imagine your home now surrounded by a wall of light, where no energy of scarcity or envy can enter. And perhaps you ask yourself, but how can I maintain hope if the bills keep arriving? The answer lies in the vibrational field. Prayer is not an escape from reality. It is the force that transforms reality. When you pray with faith, you don't ignore debts. You confront them at their root. You change the frequency that sustains the problem. Spiritual debts begin to dissolve when the mind and heart align with abundance. Psalm 35 is the decree that releases this energy. It acts in the invisible and opens pathways in the visible. Because when your vibration changes, money starts flowing again, doors open, and life breathes prosperity again. Ask yourself now, is debt really just a piece of paper, or is it a reflection of the frequency you've been carrying? When you change your internal field, external reality has no choice but to respond. Today you are being repositioned, not just as someone who pays bills, but as someone who breaks spiritual cycles. And when this cycle is broken, the blessing extends to your family and your descendants. I am not a slave to debt, I am an heir to God's eternal abundance. Feel this phrase within yourself. It's not just a word, it's a vibration. It reprograms your field, clearing old memories and making room for prosperity to flourish. And now get ready, because in the next step, you will receive the complete revelation of how to use Psalm 35 for 21 days as a spiritual sword to break debt, dispel envy, and restore the flow of abundance in your life. The time has come to reveal the spiritual weapon God has given us against debt, envy, and all negative energies, Psalm 35. This is not just an ancient hymn, it is a divine decree, a sword that cuts invisible chains, a shield that protects your home, your mind, and your finances. For centuries, men and women of faith have used this psalm to win battles that were not just physical, but spiritual. Because when the invisible rises against you, it is not with human strength that you win, but with the vibration of God's word. Listen carefully. Each verse of Psalm 35 carries a frequency capable of aligning your field with abundance. It is more than poetry. It is vibration in the form of prayer. When proclaimed with faith, it undoes bonds, neutralizes curses, and opens space for the flow of prosperity to return. And here's the key. This is not an isolated act, it is a process. Therefore, let us embark together on a 21-day journey of prayer with Psalm 35. Not out of superstition, but because there is something powerful in conscious repetition, in the decision to remain steadfast until the atmosphere changes. For 21 days, you will declare Psalm 35 your spiritual sword. Each day will be a brick in the construction of your new reality. With each repetition, your mind is freed from emotional debt, your home is purified, and your financial frequency is repositioned. You might ask, but why 21 days? Because this is a complete cycle of reprogramming. It's enough time for the vibrational field to be cleansed, for old patterns to lose strength, and for abundance to find space to flourish. Imagine this. Your life is like a field. There are good seeds and weeds. The 21 days of prayer are like a daily spiritual spring cleaning, pulling out the weeds and preparing the soil for new seeds of prosperity to germinate. Now close your eyes for a moment and visualize. See your debts as rusty chains. See each charge as a weight tied to your hands. And now, as Psalm 35 is proclaimed, imagine this chain breaking, the links falling to the ground, and your arms rising free. Listen to this vibrational prayer and allow it to echo deep within you. Lord, before you I place every debt that oppresses me, every negative word hurled against my life, every energy that tries to steal my prosperity. I cry out with faith, fight your battles for me, break the invisible bonds, undo the traps of scarcity. By the power of your word, I declare that no debt will remain, that all envy will be dissolved, and that my home will vibrate with abundance. I am free because in you, Lord, there is no lack but fullness. Feel the power of these words. They are not just sound, they are frequency, resonating in the invisible field around you. As you pray, God acts in areas you cannot see. As you declare, angels move on your behalf. And it's not just about finances. Psalm 35 reaches the soul. It also breaks the emotional debts you carry, hurts, traumas, words that have hurt and become trapped within you. All of these are chains that drain energy and attract scarcity. But when you surrender to the Lord, the poison is removed without leaving a scar. Now, imagine your home filled with golden light, every room purified, every wall sealed, every door protected. Where there was once heaviness, now there is lightness. Where there were once pointless arguments, now there is peace. The home becomes an altar, and prosperity finds a home. And don't stop there. Declare over your finances. Everything I touch will bear fruit. For what God blesses, no one curses. This phrase is a vibrational decree. It changes your relationship with money, taking it out of the realm of fear and placing it in the realm of abundance. During these 21 days, every time you feel doubt, remember, the debt is not greater than the promise. The realm does not respond to fear, it responds to faith. And every time you repeat Psalm 35, you are reaffirming to the universe, I choose abundance, I choose freedom. This is not a mechanical practice, but a spiritual stance. It's deciding that you will no longer carry chains that don't belong to you. It's rising up as a warrior of the kingdom, knowing that those who walk in God's presence do not live on crumbs, but on fullness. And if at any point during the 21 days you feel resistance, strange dreams, fatigue, doubts, know that this is simply a sign that the field is being reprogrammed. When darkness is confronted, it tries to resist, but it doesn't prevail in the face of light. So stay. Don't give up halfway through the process. Liberation doesn't happen with just one prayer, but with the daily decision to sustain the new frequency. And when the 21 days are complete, you will notice that something has changed, not only in your finances, but in your entire atmosphere. The field of scarcity has been broken, and now I walk in the vibration of God's abundance. Keep this declaration sealed in your heart, because with each day of prayer it will become more real. In the next step, we will go together to the climax of this journey, the final liberation, the spiritual shielding of your home, and the closing prayer that seals this victory. Now we have reached the decisive point of this journey. It is not just about hearing words, but about living the transformation they bring. Today, invisible debts have been broken, old chains have fallen, and the atmosphere around you is no longer the same. Where there was once heaviness, there is now lightness. Where there was fear, there is now the certainty that God has already decreed abundance upon your life. Close your eyes for a moment and declare in a firm voice, I am free. No debt defines me. The Lord is my abundance and my eternal inheritance. Feel the vibration of this declaration. It is not just a phrase. It is a frequency that seals your mind, your home, and your finances. When you speak, the field responds. When you believe, the impossible begins to move. And if you want to sustain this frequency every day, not just now, there is a next step, the new Vibrational Reality Manual. This isn't just a book, it's a practical tool that will help you maintain the vibration of abundance, even when the world tries to pull you back into scarcity. It's the guide that will solidify this victory in your life. The link is in the pinned comment, and I recommend you access it right now. Before closing, write this phrase in the comments as a seal of faith. The field of scarcity has been broken, and now I walk in the vibration of God's abundance. And don't stop here. If this video spoke to you, the next one will deepen your journey even further. Watch. Repeat this psalm once for 7 days, and a financial miracle will enter your life. The link is just below in the description. Today, chains have fallen. Tomorrow, new portals will open.